As an Elder Scrolls fan since Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, I must say I was massively disappointed with Starfield. All the planets were barren wastelands, the stories were mediocre, there was a lot of loading times, etc., etc. I don't need to go into too much detail there. So it's great to see indie games such as Tainted Grail try to fill that void that Bethesda left with Starfield. Is it as good as Elder Scrolls? That's a big question. Elder Scrolls, like I said earlier, defined the genre. For the last 20 years, there's been genre-defining games such as Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim. Skyrim, I can still play to this day and have a new experience thanks to the thousands of mods available. But Tainted Grail is a special game, I will say. I want to start with combat. The first thing I noticed with Tainted Grail when I first started playing was how stellar the combat was. When you swing your weapon and you hit an enemy, you feel the impact. There's just a ton of feedback with the weapons and the magic and the explosions and the physics. I felt it just felt so awesome. Whether you're playing a two-handed weapon, dual one-handed weapons, the magic, just everything comes together so well. There's even dashing, there's perfect parrying, which is really difficult, but there's a skill tree that allows you to widen that window that you have for the perfect parry. So that definitely helps, and it feels so good when you parry and you dash to the side and then you charge up your attack and you just smash the enemy down. It just feels so awesome. There's even summoning too, so you can almost have a mini necromancer build. I will say it feels very Elder Scrolls like, because like Elder Scrolls, in Tainted Grail you can play however you want. You're not confined to a specific class like you are in other games. So for example, I actually started off with dual one-handers because that's all I could find in the beginning of the game that hit the hardest. But then I finally went to my tried and true that I love so much, the two-handed giant sword. But the magic is so fun in Tainted Grail that I still fall back on some spells now and then, and I picked up a summoning spell. So what I like to do is I like to summon my minion, have it hold aggro, and then I just run around with my two-handed giant mace and I just bash everything into the ground. There's even a sprinting attack, so you can sprint and just dash and just stick the giant two-handed sword right into the enemy and they go flying. It's just so awesome to see. And sometimes there's kill animations too. There's slow-mo effects. Combat feels great. Now, combat in Elder Scrolls wasn't always its strongest point. In Morrowind, it was actually a roll the dice to see if you attack. If it's not really that great. It feels good if you know what you're getting into, like it's a Dungeons and Dragons game. In Oblivion and Skyrim, they definitely improved the combat. Now, Starfield is a completely different type of game, right? It's not a fantasy game, but I felt like there wasn't a giant leap in improvement between those games. Whereas Tainted Grail, I feel, adds a little bit extra flavor to it with the perfect parrying, the dashing. It just all comes together so great. So I will say that in terms of combat, Tainted Grail not only fulfills the requirement, it exceeds it by far. Okay, let's talk story and lore. Again, as a massive Elder Scrolls fan, it's taken me quite a while to just absorb the sheer amount of lore that there is in these games. If you've ever visited the TES lore subreddit, your mind will be blown by all of the facts and pieces of lore and story that you totally missed out on, even though you've been playing the games for 20 years. Just, there's levels to this. There are levels to this when it comes to Elder Scrolls lore. When you're talking about Godhead and Chim and all these crazy concepts that are pretty well hidden in Elder Scrolls. It takes a while to understand everything that's going on. And again, I love the Elder Scrolls. I love the lore. Tainted Grail, when it comes to the story and lore, they have a bit of an advantage because it takes place during the times of King Arthur's and that whole mythology. So the second you dive in, you're already familiar with the biggest players and the biggest names that are mentioned in the story, with the Knights of the Round Table and King Arthur and Merlin. And the second you just enter the world, you're already familiar with everything that's happening around the world. Now, obviously, they've taken some liberties and they've changed a few things here and there, but massive advantage goes to Tainted Grail in this regard, because I feel like anyone can just pick up the game and you feel familiar. The place that you're in feels familiar. Now, Elder Scrolls is a little bit, I would say, more on the light-hearted side. It definitely has darker themes, especially Morrowind, when you're traveling to the Red Mountain and some of these darker dungeons. And then in all of the games, what they have in common are the Dwarven ruins. So you can get into some dark places here. But what I will say with Tainted Grail, from through and through, it is a very dark and gritty tale that is being told. There's corruption. There's disease and plague. People are sick and people are corrupt. And it is just a very dark and grim world overall. But man, I loved it. Every second I was just drawn into it. And one thing I do want to say, I want to touch on, the characters in this game. There's no black and white, good, evil, light and dark like there are. And I will say in the Elder Scrolls, there's still some gray areas. But in Tainted Grail, what I loved about the quests, where there were so many quests where you have to make decisions that actually impact the rest of the game from that point on. It could impact what quests you have, what characters live, which characters die. And these are named characters with voiced actors behind them. And what I loved is sometimes when I had to make a crucial decision, I would sit there and I really had to ponder my decision as to whose side I was choosing, who got to live, who got to die, because there's some gray areas in this game. It's not really just it's not really just cut and dry here. And I loved that. I really loved that my decisions mattered. Who I decided to ally myself with mattered. Just loved that so much. Whereas in the Elder Scrolls games, a little bit of a weakness here, in some of the games, you can literally join every single guild and those other guilds don't really care. I feel like in the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind game, you couldn't join the Fighters Guild and the Thieves Guilds together. But other than that, I can't really think of any other examples. But in this game, it's just, it depends on, your actions matter, is what I'm trying to say. And on the subject of guilds, I love the guilds in Elder Scrolls, and all of them. Whether in the Morag Tong or the Thieves Guild, in Morrowind and Skyrim, you have their version of the Fighters Guild, the Companions, and then they have the School of Magic there. I think that's really cool. In this game, Tainted Grail, it's not really clear that there even are guilds. And to be completely honest, up until last night, I thought that there weren't even there. I didn't even know there were guilds to join. I thought coming up to this video, I wasn't even going to touch on guilds. But there actually are guilds that you can join in Tainted Grail, and I actually discovered that late last night in my playthrough. The guilds in Tainted Grail are very well, they're hidden, but they're not totally hidden. Whereas in Elder Scrolls, you can just go to your nearest town and the guilds are advertising, hey, please join our guild. But in Tainted Grail, you don't have access to join those guilds until you complete certain side quests that you can totally skip. Big warning here, not a spoiler warning, but just a warning in general. If you haven't played this game yet, you really want to explore every nook and cranny in this game and talk to every NPC, because there are some very unassuming NPCs that end up unlocking access to these guilds and access to very long chains of quests. And so talk to everyone, and talk to everyone multiple times. If you do a quest for someone, go back to them and talk to them again, because they might still unlock further items, quests, guilds. It's really cool. And another thing I'm pretty sure I'm picking up on, again, I haven't gotten terribly far. I think I'm about 15, 20 hours into the game, and there's just so much to talk about already. I might actually have to split this review up into 2 videos. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So I'm pretty sure I've already unlocked the one major guild, and I'm pretty sure you can't join 2 guilds together, although I have to confirm that probably with another video. But I will say there's one guild I think that you can join, but you can also destroy them too, which is what I loved about Skyrim. I just love playing the noble paladin type, okay? I'm sorry, I'm a sucker for that. Shoutouts to S-Fan in World of Warcraft. In this game, Tainted Grail, you have an option to destroy a guild. I'm pretty sure you can also join, which is awesome. I love that. So yeah, guilds in Tainted Grail. So far I ran into a few. I'm looking for one. I haven't spoiled myself yet. I'm pretty sure there is one I can join, but I'm still looking. I thought I was done with the first act, Act 1, like this giant island. I was about to leave it, and I'm so glad I went back and looked, because I just unlocked like at least another 5, 10, 15 hours worth of content. So that's why I'm probably going to have to split this video up into 2. There's just so much to do in Tainted Grail. When it comes to graphics, Tainted Grail isn't, I'd say, the highest fidelity game out there, but the art style works so well with the gritty, dark story that they're trying to tell here. I didn't find myself really thinking too negatively about the graphics. Actually, in some parts of the game, the dark grittiness and the art style really come together great, especially at night. So at night, part of the story is that there's this permeating fog called the weirdness that is causing like death and plague, and it really looks awesome at night when these evil creatures coming out to attack you. And then in other times throughout the day, I feel like the sunlight and the sky looks great against this darker, gritty world. They do a really good job with that contrast. Weapons look cool, armor looks awesome, the special effects with the magic looks really great, although I do notice some frames dropping when I use magic in this game, or when I'm fighting a boss that uses a lot of magic. So I probably have to tweak my graphics settings when it comes to magic effects. But there's no weird motion blur, or maybe I disabled the motion blur that's killing any frames. The game looks great. I'd say the graphics are on par with a modern texture packs with Skyrim. It's probably on that level. What's interesting is I think the game looks better than Starfield, which was, again, disappointing on that front. I feel like the NPCs in Starfield looked weird. The armor just wasn't cool looking. The weapons weren't cool. Whereas Tainted Grail, there's cool armor, there's cool weapons. People look pretty standard. They look okay. Nothing crazy. Nothing that stands out. The voice acting is really great in Tainted Grail. Much better than Starfield and Skyrim. Voices weren't always a strong suit of Elder Scrolls. Again, I love those games. But voices, especially in Oblivion, I'm replaying the Oblivion remastered, and hearing the voice lines just cracks me up, hearing people talking about mud crabs in the middle of town and what's happening in the provinces. Okay, see you later. I love it, though. That's the charm of the Elder Scrolls series. But yeah, definitely chalk this up as a win for graphics for Tainted Grail, because I don't have a crazy powerful machine. I have a 5600X CPU with a 3080 GPU, and it looks great. Now, I know there are some stuttering issues that console players were mentioning, I'm pretty sure the newest patches fixed that, and if they haven't fixed it, it should be fixed in the future. I did notice that with the newest patches, now again, I'm not measuring frames here, but it did seem like the game ran a little bit smoother with the newer patches. So, is Tainted Grail the next Elder Scrolls? If you are a fan of the Elder Scrolls games, Oblivion, Skyrim, you definitely have to check out Tainted Grail. It is the game to play. It definitely is inspired by the Elder Scrolls games in terms of exploration and quests and overall storytelling. You definitely have to check this game out. And in some instances, like in combat and in guilds and so, in exploration also, I think it has an edge over the Elder Scrolls games. It definitely blows Starfield out of the water. And again, I know Starfield is an outer space game, it's set in the future, but in terms of the core elements that Starfield was trying to evolve from the Elder Scrolls games, it failed in that regard. And I think Tainted Grail is the spiritual successor to those Elder Scrolls games. The combat is amazing. Exploring is so much fun. You're rewarded for exploring for sure, because you unlock some guilds and secret quests. There's secret bosses. There's just so much that Tainted Grail has to offer. And as soon as you step into the world of King Arthur and this dark, gritty tale they're trying to tell, it will just suck you in if you're a fan, and you will find yourself spending hours and hours every night losing track of time, just like the good old days of the Elder Scrolls games. And that's it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.